Hi guys, it's Jeff here, the photographer's mentor. Welcome to another LinkedIn, Facebook and YouTube live. And in this live, I'm going to be joined by the queen of creative copyright, Claire Bignell. Now, Claire is a real authority on getting your words right, creating content that really appeals to your ideal client. And today we're talking about creating content that not only appeals to your ideal client, but also creating content that appeals to Google. Because if you didn't know, change their algorithm with what is called the helpful content update. And this is going to have a massively huge effect on photographers' websites, because most photographers have what is called a portfolio gallery style website. So Claire's going to come and talk to us about why we need to change that. And this is a lot of information that I've got in my latest book. So if you haven't had or you haven't seen my latest book, it's called Help My Photography Website Needs More Customers. You can get that from Amazon, and we'll be talking about a lot of the content in there. So just say hello, tell us where you are watching from, where you're listening from, and also let us know what your website is like at the moment. Are you happy with your website content? Have you got a traditional gallery style website, portfolio style website that is going to struggle going forward with this new Google algorithm? Or are you writing content on your website for your ideal customer and also for Google as well? So I'm going to bring in Claire. Hello, Claire. How are you doing?
Hello. Good afternoon. Hi, Jeff. How are you doing?
Very well, very well.
Good to be here. We've already got people coming.
Yes, we've got Canada.
We've got Graham's from Australia. Graham was in touch with me earlier on this week. So
yeah, so Graham had posted in the on the actual LinkedIn live, hadn't he?
Yeah, yeah. Nice to see you, Graham. And Phil. Everyone's piling in. Fab.
Yeah.
Fab.
Agnieszka from Sweden, and I'm always worried that I'm going to that I've pronounced your name wrong. Hopefully, I haven't.
From Sweden. Hi, Agnieszka.
Stacey, Josh, how are you doing, Josh? Well, Josh is going to be getting a new website done from the Photographer Suite, so hopefully we'll smash Josh's website. And
awesome. It's going to be cool, Josh.
So guys, so basically, like I said, and as I did in the introduction here, Google has changed its website algorithm, its search algorithm at the beginning, halfway through last year, and again just before the start of this year. So there's two big updates. One was in August and the other was in December. And if you actually want to go over to Google and type into Google the Google Helpful Content Update, you should be able to find a white paper on that tells you a bit about what Google is looking for. Now, the reason Google's changed this is it wants to be the website that gives you the best search results, because obviously if you go to a website, if you go to a search engine and then type in something that you're looking for, Google wants to give you relevant content that is going to help you on your journey to find a solution to your problem or make that perfect sale. So Google is all about creating content that is written for your ideal customer and coming away from content that is written for search engines and bots. So it's no longer a case of stuffing, wedding photographer 20 times on the homepage of your website, because Google knows that you're a wedding photographer just from your H1 and your H2 tags. The first headline and subheading of your website, because Google is that advanced now, can read the content. It doesn't need to see the word wedding photographer 20 times to understand this is a wedding photographer's website. It uses its artificial intelligence and algorithms to be able to understand if your website is providing really good quality content for somebody who's looking for a wedding photographer. So I'm going to hand it over to Claire. So Claire, how do we understand all this from a photographer's point of view when we're putting this down into copy?
Yeah, it can feel a bit overwhelming, right? It can feel quite, and I think I work with a lot of photographers, and in fact, basically that's my niche. I work pretty much solely with photographers. Occasionally somebody else comes in and asks me to do it, but basically I write copy for photographers. That is my niche. And so I listen to you guys a lot. And I think sometimes these kind of algorithm updates and stuff, they sound great, but it sounds like another thing that's kind of overwhelming. It's a bit much. Another thing you've got to learn about, right? Another thing you've got to get your head around. But actually, I think the helpful content is brilliant for people like us, small business owners, for anyone who runs their own small business, because it kind of, and it's in line with a lot of stuff that Jeff talks about. If you follow Jeff around, or you're connected to Jeff, or if you follow me around anywhere and you're connected to me, it's to do with creating content that our customers are going to love, right? It's to do with really demonstrating that we understand our own customer base, right? And that is only ever going to be a good thing for us as business owners as well, because we want, it's not even necessarily that we will be pleasing the algorithm, but by being good-hearted citizens of the world, in a way, really, you know, I mean, just by actually running our business professionally and by spending time to understand what's going on for our customers, and what they struggle with, what their real life problems are when we talk to them, right? If we talk to them as human beings, then we're going to get an understanding of what their problems are. And then we can actually use that in the content that we create on our websites and our blogs, even the stuff that we put out on social media, everywhere. So it really is in line with a lot of the stuff that Jeff talks about in terms of the Scroll to a Sale website. That is very much about guiding a customer through an experience, giving them the information they need to help them to decide that you're the right photographer for them, right? So I think it's a fantastic thing, and it's not something to be overwhelmed by at all.
And the problem is, I think, you know, we're one of the only industries that believe that if we just stick some photographs on our website, that'll be it. The customers will come to the website, they'll see our logo, and they'll see our company name big on the website with a load of photographs, and they'll be like, "Oh,
beautiful pictures.
That's it. I'm going to buy. I'm going to purchase." Now, what we've got to remember is other photographers, you know, might say, "Wow, you know, these images are amazing," or "I love this guy's work," or "I love this woman's work." But we're not selling to other photographers. We're selling to consumers. We're selling to people who have problems. So the first thing they're going to judge our website by is the overall appearance, as in the colors, the fonts, the layout. So that you know, if you want to charge a premium price, it's got to look premium and feel premium. But the second thing they're going to judge on is the content, and whether the content aligns with them and what they're looking for, if it's helping them. Because if they have one photographer who's speaking their language, identifying with their fears or their needs and selling benefits, and another photographer who is maybe a more talented photographer but isn't communicating with them, the chances are they're going to go with the first photographer who speaks their language, because they can't really tell the difference between the two images, because they're not judging the website content on its technical ability of the photographer. They come into the website as a consumer.
And I think that's something that that's actually kind of partly why I ended up working with photographers, because I was looking, I've got friends who are photographers, one particular friend actually who's in your program now, who used to pick my brains all the time. And I used to go and look at his website, and it was like, it's just photos. You don't tell anybody anything about who you are and what you do. And then I went off and looked at other photographers' websites, and this was back in, you know, a few years ago. And I was like, actually, a lot of photographers don't put words on. And then I started kind of talking to people, and it, you know, it's a mismatch between, I think actually some of it, I'm going to go off on a tangent here, but I think some of it kind of goes back a little bit historically to, you know, back in the day as a photographer, you would have taken a portfolio of your work, right, into somewhere, a physical hard copy portfolio of your work, and you'd have shown people your work, and you'd have talked to them about it, and you'd have said, this is what I do, and these are clients I've worked with, and blah, 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 and you create a bit of a bond. And there's almost like the mismatch is kind of moving that from portfolio of work to then just going, okay, so this is a digital portfolio of my work, I'll just put all the pictures up there. And missing out that conversation that you would have had with the person face to face. So this is where the content and the copy really does replace that. We need to understand who those customers are that we're trying to talk to, and give them the signposts on our website and through our content that helps them to understand that you're here to help them.
And I think, incidentally, Phil, yes, it is recorded. So if you just go to my hashtag, Phil, which I know you'll be following, which is hashtag creating successful photographers, you'll see it going across the bottom there. When this is finished, at the end of the live, you'll just be able to go back and find it underneath that hashtag. But I mean, one easy way to think about...
I just saw Phil's comment about stuffing wedding photographer. Did nothing for me. I didn't get a single dog portrait inquiry. Phil's always here for the lols, isn't
yeah, it? Phil always gives us a little bit of but yeah, I mean, sometimes it's not, it's not actually rocket science. And the funny thing is that it's a bit like branding, isn't it? We all have this in our head, but when it comes to our own business, we don't understand it. And when it comes to branding, we're all actually branding experts in our own mind, because we can look at one product and another product, and just by the colors and the fonts, we're like, oh, that looks premium, this looks high end, so we can identify that. So when we're thinking about what should we have on our website, the first thing to think about is, well, what would you like to see on a website if you were purchasing something? If you went to, not necessarily photography, but if you went to look at, say, for instance, you're going to get some SEO services done for your website, search engine optimization services on your website, what would you want to know? So what do the packages include? What are the benefits of what that person does? A starting price. You want to see testimonials. You want to see potentially guarantees. And Google understands that this is what a lot of clients want. And a big thing that I've heard people say is, should you have a price on your website? And I say, undoubtedly, 100% yes. It doesn't have to be a full price list. It can be a from price, a price qualifier. And what you need to do is you need to think about the person coming to your website and what do they want to know? What do they want to find? Because especially if you have quite an expensive service, if you're a wedding photographer or branding photographer and you're charging a few £1,000s or $3,000 or $4,000, then people aren't going to just look at your pictures and press book. They want to know, what can you provide for me? What benefits am I going to get? I want to see some testimonials, but you don't want to see testimonials on the testimonials page. They need to be on the homepage. If you look at a lot of big companies, you'll see testimonials on the homepage. So Google is looking for a thing called EAT, which is an acronym, which I know you've done quite a lot of research on. And so what does EAT stand for?
So we've got, it used to be EAT, which I'm going to read this out to you just to make sure I don't make any mistakes for the wording here exactly live. So it used to be EAT way back in 2017, 2018, and that was expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. And what they did in December last year is they've extended that so that it's now experience, expertise, authoritativeness, I can't say that word, and trustworthiness. But it's all of those things, but the experience element is the new part that they've brought in. So that's to do with you being able to demonstrate that you have experience in this niche, that you have experience in this, whether it's your niche, as in your ideal client niche, your niche of photography, perhaps, so whether it's brand photography or dog pet photography or wedding photography or whatever it is, you understand this niche, but you also are able to demonstrate that you have expertise because you have your testimonials, you have case studies, you have stuff that you can talk about, and people who are prepared to talk on your behalf. And that's another thing. And trustworthiness, so that T in EEAT is a big component of what they're talking about as well. So all of this content that we're producing actually really falls into line with what they're asking us to do, because your testimonials demonstrate that you're trustworthy because somebody's obviously said something nice about you, right? But there's a whole bunch of other things, but also you doing things like showing up regularly on social media, making sure your website looks professional, making sure your website's up to date. All of those kind of things demonstrate that you're professional, that you're trustworthy, that you're going to turn up on time, you're going to do the job, right? Because you may not think you may not think that's really an indicator, but it actually is an indicator of your professionalism, right? So that therefore reaches into your trustworthiness. So all of these things come into play. It's all kind of like a big spider's web, really. But yeah, it's interesting. It's a good time to it's actually a good time, I think, for us if you want to create a real personable, real connection with your customers, this is the time to be doing it, rather than the olden days when we were stuffing the keywords into Google, right? We were just, you know, trying to get to, it was a race to the bottom. And what they're actually saying now is that the quality of what we put out there and our ability to help people and to be useful out there on the internet is what you're going to get ranked for now.
Yeah, and that comes back to, and I'm sorry, it just comes up on the Newsfeed LinkedIn user, but so I don't know who said this, but it says, my problem that I'm having is directing people to my website in the first place. So what you're probably saying is, you know, getting people from Google onto your website, you know, people who are organically searching for whatever services you actually put forward. So if you read that white paper and understand that white paper, and what we're going to be talking about later is that is the sense of the helpful content update. So it's no longer really about getting as much SEO and backlinks and stuff like that organically. It's not about stuffing your website full of keywords, so that because Google can identify whether your website is valuable, helpful, inspirational, and will help a client. So it's now judging your website on the quality of the content, and to show that you are experienced in what you do, you have expertise, you have experience, you have authority, and you have trust. So things like testimonials, guarantees, FAQs on your homepage, frequently asked questions, because that's what, you know, clients are looking for. So no longer are you needing to think, right, I've got to do loads and loads of SEO work and you know, stuff my website with keywords to get people there, because Google isn't looking for that anymore. And it says in the helpful content update that keywords and backlinks are going to become secondary to quality helpful content, because the algorithm can read the content, understand if that's helpful and if it's relevant to the client's search, and it's showing experience, expertise, authority, and trust. Then you will start ranking higher in the searches. You'll start coming up. So by changing your content, writing content for people, not for the search engine, you will start actually getting more people coming to your website, because it's going to be a lot more relevant.
Yeah, it's remarkable. It's a complete flip, isn't it? Because I think that's, you know, people used to write like normal human beings, and then they started writing for robots because they were writing for search engines, because they were shoving in all these billions of keywords. And now what's happening is we're being told to write like human beings again. Right? Write like human beings for human beings, and you'll get rewarded. And that's and that's it. And actually the going back to that question from LinkedIn user, we're sorry, can't see your name, but directing people to your website in the first place, that's where indirect search, as Jeff mentioned, is key, and that's where creating helpful content and creating blogs in particular on your website are really going to help you, because direct search is what's going to, if somebody already knows that, for example, I'm Claire Bignor, Jeff is Jeff Brown, and he's called the Photographer's Mentor, and they put that into Google, or they know they're looking for a photography mentor, he's going to come up at the top of the page. But if they know that they're just looking for some help on something, they kind of need some sort of support, then actually what will happen is that Jeff's blogs, which answer questions about photography business, will come up instead. So that's where indirect search, and that's a blog. So quite often, so this is where your content can be really helpful. If you understand the kind of problems that your customers have, then you will be found. So people will find your website via that indirect search. So they won't necessarily need to know your name or your brand name, but you will be found by the people who you're trying to target, because you're putting content out there that helps them. And
so to clarify that, so you have two different types of where people can find you on the internet. The first way is through your homepage, which is, as Claire says, direct search. So if you're a wedding photographer and somebody types in wedding photographers New York or wedding photographer near me, then they're going to be coming in through your homepage, because Google identifies that you're a wedding photographer through your H1 and H2 tags and the content that you've written there, because you're talking about photographing weddings and and your content is really helpful and explains the whole process of how you do this. But then if somebody is typing into Google an indirect search question, so they're probably not yet ready to make a purchase, but they type in best wedding venues in Cardiff, or how to plan a perfect winter wedding in Paris, or wedding trends for 2023 country themed weddings. So if you were writing blogs that answer those questions and you put that on your blog page of your website, then you're going to get indirect traffic. So these are people who are not ready yet for a wedding photographer, but they're probably engaged, and they will be looking for a wedding photographer in the next couple of months. So in my case, I write things like how to price my photography, how to create a photographer's LinkedIn profile. So that's the back end, that's the indirect search to my blog. But my homepage is attracting people who are going straight to Google and typing in photography mentoring, photography business marketing, and I'm finding them that way, and then building relationships with them on my homepage, because the content isn't just stuffed with the word photography marketing. It talks about how I can help them, the benefits my program gives, and what they'll receive, and the prices on there. There's testimonials on there. There's a guarantee on there. There's frequently asked questions. It's all there within that homepage.
Yeah. And it's I'm just having a look, and the reason that you can. I was just thinking actually. So the reason that you're able to produce that content, and this is something I'd like to touch on, is because you understand your customers really well, right? You understand your clients. You know what questions photographers are asking about. You know what they ask about in your mentorship programs. You know what they ask about when you get voice clips from people, and you do all of the stuff, because you support people all over the world all the time, right, Jeff? So you're getting questions asked of you, so you get a good gauge for what it is that people need help with. So what photographers need to do is to start listening to their customers too, and to start actually opening these conversations with them, and actually saying, right, okay, or taking notes. I think this is the critical thing. So quite often I'll ask my photography clients, okay, so what questions do you get asked the most as a photographer? Because I'm trying to steer people along the way of saying, okay, let's get some content together, let's get some ideas for maybe some blogs or something. And they'll be like, oh, well, they always ask me how much it is, or how long it's going to be till I get their pictures back, blah, 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 which is true. And they will. That kind of functional question is going to be the kind of thing you get asked a lot. But what you need to do is kind of take it a step further and start asking them questions about, why they came to you, what was going on for them before they phoned you or before they got in touch with you. What is it that they're looking to get out of having pictures with you? And I think the critical thing here, and this is where it's writing for humans, this is where it's us creating solutions and answers for humans, is understanding what it is that they actually want to do with this stuff, and not making assumptions. So if we make assumptions, then we're kind of writing for robots, basically, right? Yeah. If we just make an assumption and go, oh, well, I guess I'm doing some headshot photography, they're probably going to chuck it on LinkedIn, then all you're doing is just making kind of assumptions, and that's just going to be the same as everyone else, right? Because everyone's saying the same thing. But if you actually take time to open that conversation with your customers and say, okay, so what is it? Why were you specifically, you as an individual customer? And I'm not talking about, grilling them. I'm not talking about, holding them down outside their photography shoot, going, you must answer my questions, but actually just taking the time when you're doing a shoot to just open those kind of questions in a kind of more casual manner, and just find that information out and make it part of your practice, make it part of your shoot, your day-to-day, to just start listening to what's going on for your customers and what they're going to do with the pictures afterwards. Because we talk a lot about this outcome thing, don't we, Jeff? We talk a lot about what outcome you deliver as a photographer, and I think that can be quite overwhelming. I mean, I remember when I first started looking at, what problems, people said you've got to identify what problems you address as a business owner and what outcome you give. And that can just sound like gobbledygook sometimes. It really can, until you start kind of actually doing a little bit of this research yourself and finding out those real things that go on for people, the real life problems that people have, rather than just guessing.
Mm-hmm. And what I do with There's a plug again with the my latest book, Help My Photography Website Needs More Customers, is we break everything down into sections to make it easy, and it is quite a simple journey that the clients do. Now, a lot of big companies do this. It's not just us as photographers that should be doing this, and we've probably had this sold to us countless times before on websites that we visited. And one of the first things you need to do right from the offset is speak the client's language and empathize with them. Then once you've empathized, then you sell the benefits that your photography brings. And to give you an idea about empathy, if I had like if I was a driving instructor and I had a driving instructor in school, and all I put on was, book with me, we're the best driving instructors around. We help 90% of our clients pass first time. Every other driving instructor is going to be saying that. Now, that it doesn't differentiate you to the other ones. But if you straight away hit on what your ideal client are, their fears and concerns, and speak that language. So the first bit of text you see on the website is, okay, you're learning to drive. We know this can be a little bit daunting, especially if you've never been on the roads before. But don't worry, our instructors are sympathetic, patient, relaxed, and calm. We put even the most nervous of first-time drivers at ease, and we'll take it at your speed, but make sure that you're learning to drive safely, competently, to get you through your test first time. So instantly connecting with those fears, that is, oh God, I'm going to feel stupid making a mistake, or I'm really, really nervous. When the client reads that, the first part of the website, they're going to go, oh, hang on a minute, this seems like my type of person, So you're adding that element of personality in, and you're addressing something that they're really worried about. So if you're a portrait photographer and that people are worried about having their picture taken, they feel stupid in front of the camera, they don't know how to pose, they don't know how to position themselves, then you can be talking about that right at the very beginning. So don't worry about, you come to the studio, I'll direct you, I'll show you. Nobody leaves my studio without a photograph that they truly love. I'll make you look your best. And, so you're empathizing and overcoming their fears right at the very beginning.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can find this information. I'm always banging on about this, and you can actually also, even if you're not comfortable with talking to people, perhaps during a shoot or something like that, but you can actually find this information in your customer testimonials. These are absolute, and I talk about this a lot, they're absolute gold dust for working out what in copywriting we call voice of customer, right? That sounds a bit but it's basically the words that your customer uses, the real life, actual human words, not the words not the marketing terms that we kind of use to summarize what they're feeling, the actual words that they feel. So for example, I think we did a headshot photographer quite recently. I can't remember who it was, Jeff, but one of the guys in your group. I looked specifically at the testimonials that they had, and in there we were able to actually pull out some of the real. This is how I was feeling before I went and got my headshots, and this is how I felt afterwards, and this is how I was able to use my headshots, and that became part of his tagline. It became part of his headline for his website, right? Because we were able to say, okay, this is actual real life stuff. This is actually what somebody has said about the experience of getting their photos taken. So that stuff is actually available to us. And so I'm always talking about this, but please do keep asking for testimonials. So I've made a little note here to make sure I remember to say this to you, because I can't emphasize how important it is, because they're not just like little bits of copy that go on our website to make everything look a bit prettier or to give a bit of trustworthiness. There's actual kind of real human kind of gold in there. There's real, that emotional stuff. When you're given advice by marketing people to look for the emotional connection with your customer, and you think, oh my God, that sounds really overwhelming. I don't know what emotion words are. I don't even know what to say. Actually, you can find it right there in your testimonials. You can find it right there in the words that your customers use when they're talking online about the problems that they have. So the other thing about testimonials is to not get disheartened, and I think this is something that a lot of people struggle with. There's a very good chance that of the 20 testimonials you ask for in a month, that that 15 of those people won't have time or won't remember to do it or whatever. And that's nothing for you to get upset about. It doesn't mean that they thought you were rubbish. It doesn't mean that they can't be bothered with you anymore now that you've done your job. It doesn't mean any of that. It just means that they've forgotten, or they're busy, or they're not quite sure what to say, or all of that kind of stuff, because they're human beings too, right? And they don't realize how important it is to you. So you need to kind of be kind to yourself as well with that stuff, but just keep asking, because the more you ask, the more you'll get.
Totally. And I think, like you jumped in on something there, like a feeling, and like, what the type of words that you're going to use for expressing feelings. And I think, well, anything that you actually can physically feel. So if you think about it, in the empathy section of your website, the very beginning, what feelings do you want to relate to and help overcome for your client? So if your client is a pet owner and they're coming for a pet portrait, what are they worried about? What feelings can you, right? Well, I'm worried about, I'm feeling anxious about my dog being boisterous and not being able to control him. I feel embarrassed if my dog kicks off during the photo shoot or runs off the lead and disappears. So those sort of feelings that you're going to come up overcome is that anxiousness, that embarrassment. So think about these words that are like feeling words. So people might feel stupid or feel silly or feel body conscious if they come in for a portrait. So if you can overcome that feeling in your empathy section and talk about, I'm going to help you, so you won't feel stupid, you won't feel silly, you won't feel body conscious. I'll pose you in a way that hides the bits you don't want to see and shows off your good bits, So it's all about thinking about a person's feelings and identifying that. And something we did on our website for portraits a few years ago was connect with the fact that a lot of mothers felt anxious and worried about their kids kicking off in the studio, and that had put them off actually booking a portrait shoot in the first place. So we straight away in the first few lines of text, we said, don't worry if your kids misbehave. There's not many that don't when they come for a photo session, but the chances are we've probably had a lot worse than yours. So don't let that put you off booking a session. In fact, if we can't get the photographs, we offer 100% money back guarantee, or you can just reschedule again. So straight away, something that otherwise might have put somebody off, we empathized with them, we started speaking their language, we identified the problem, and we overcame that just in 2 or 3 lines of text.
Yeah, it's remarkable, isn't it? I mean, if you can identify that kind of thing, I think it's gold dust. And I think we did it recently with another of your clients, actually, who's a dog photographer, and we had a whole list of, we ended up writing a whole blog about it, with all of those kind of top questions that clients have. And it was to do with, the dog not behaving when it was out and about, or whether or not it had to be on the leash. She was American, so it was leash. But whether if your dog was going to misbehave or run off, then how are you going to get photos of it looking lovely and natural if it's got to be on its lead? Well, actually, there's the wonderful magic of being a photographer, right? Is you can beautifully edit out that stuff, but you can, with the way that you explain it on your content, in this helpful content, you're actually able to make somebody understand that actually, okay, it's not a big deal, and I don't need to understand how the photographer does it. They just do, and it's magic.
Yeah,
and that is to people outside of the photography industry, that's kind of how they see it. It's like, oh my god, that's just magic. How do you do that? And the answer is hours and hours of editing, obviously, and years of experience. But to them, they're just like, that is incredible. That is magic.
And Adam just came up with a really good point then. But Adam sort of answered his own question, Adam Soller. And Adam, yes, you don't want loads and loads, you don't want too much text on your website, but you want text there so that your clients can read it. Some people will read every single bit of wording on your website. Other people will just skim. But, the idea is to have this content broken up with subheadings, headlines and subheadings. But the headlines and subheadings having an answer to a problem within there, so at the first, your main headline for your empathy section, the next bit of text underneath the hero area or the banner area of your website could say something like, don't let the thought of your kids misbehaving put you off creating a beautiful family portrait for your home. So straight away people see that, oh, right, you've just that word in there has connected with them. They might skim that bit, then they go down to the next bit and they see another headline. So people do skim through headlines and pick out what's good for them. They might skim down 3/4 of the way through the page to see the price headline. Beautiful wall art in your home from only £595, or brighten up the rooms of your home, your house, and make your house a home from £595. So it's got the cost of your wall art in there, so people can scan down and see it. So headlines and subheadings are really essential to communicate with people who are scanning. But then you've also got that main content in there for people who want to dive in and really, pick every little bit of information before they hit that book now or schedule a consultation button.
Yeah, you actually have 4. This is a bit of copywriting wizardry for you. Every website kind of should be written for 4 types of reader, right? And they are. I'm not going to blabber off the 4 types, but I think one of them is impulsive, and that is the person for whom your call to action button exists, and that's somebody who knows that they like you, they know that they want to do work with you, and they want to get it booked in now, and they literally don't want to do anything. They don't want to read anything else on your website. They've already sold that, or they've heard about this offer from somewhere else, and they're already in, right? And that's straight in. And then you've got other people who are methodical, and they are people who will literally go through and read every single piece of copy right down to the very, very bottom of your homepage, literally all of it. They will literally want to know everything before they even book a call with you. There are other people who are going to want to be, they want to get the facts, right? Exactly the kind of people who are skimming through the headlines. They're like, okay, I just want to understand the facts. I want to make sure I get a good understanding of what this is all about, and then I'm going to book a call. So you're writing for, and I can't remember the 4th one off the top of my head. I'm sorry, it's gone out of my brain. But you're actually writing for. So when we design these homepages, when we design the website pages, you're actually writing to not, and it's not just to it's not like everyone is always methodical. Like a methodical reader isn't always methodical. Sometimes they're impulsive. So you have to kind of and if you think about your own behavior online, sometimes perfectly well what it is that you want to go and buy. Like if I want to get something on Amazon, it's come up and I'm like, okay, yeah, cool, right, give it to me now, send it to me Prime tomorrow, thanks. But there are other things that I'm looking to buy. Like is that going back to your example of earlier of SEO services, for example, if I was going to go and buy someone to really dive into something like SEO that I don't feel very confident with, that I feel like I need to understand before I can make any kind of informed decision, I'm going to read that stuff.
Yeah.
So you have to that's why we have all of this different type of content on your homepage as well, and on your other website pages too.
And I think the main thing that people want to know is, first that empathy bit, so putting their mind at rest as soon as they land on your homepage, then understand the benefit of what you do. So the benefits of your photography. So if you're headshot photography, you're not selling the image, you're selling confidence, you're selling approachability, you're selling being able to increase your LinkedIn network and create the right first impression to your ideal clients. So think deep about the benefits that your photography brings. The other thing that people want to know is how easy is it to work with you? And you'll see this repeated on lots of websites, and I call this the steps to a solution. So if you go on a lot of car dealership websites, they will show you the solution in 4 steps, and it might be halfway down the page, and it'll say step 1, discover our range online. Step 2, book your test drive. Step 3, customize your vehicle. Step 4, have your vehicle delivered to your home. 4 steps, 4 simple steps to spending, could be 50 grand on a car. They make it sound really easy. The purpose of that website is not to sell the car. The purpose of that website is to sell the test drive, because it's the easiest sale. So if you're a wedding photographer, you don't want to be selling the wedding photography. You don't want people to try and purchase that, and then because they won't, what you want to do is empathize with them, sell the benefits of your wedding photography, and then show them how easy it is. Have a free consultation, choose the package that suits your needs, secure your date, your wedding album delivered within 30 days from the date of the wedding. So that might be your key things. So you show them, but the main thing that you want them to do on that website is to book that consultation, because all these other questions and details you can actually answer on a consultation. Another way around it is have a PDF brochure that goes really deep into some of this stuff, and then have a pop-up or have a call to action button that says, interested? Why not get our PDF brochure? Then at least you can get somebody's email address, so that if they're not ready to purchase there and then on your homepage, you can get their email address in exchange for all this information on a brochure, really packed out, that they can read and enjoy in their own time. But Gary and Elaine said, is there a word count we need to worry about on the homepage? Well, funny enough, in the Google white paper about the helpful content update, it says do not write for a word count, because we don't have one. Google say they don't actually have a word count, even though people say Google has a word count of X amount of characters. What it wants is, it just wants quality. So if that quality content is in 1,000 words, or if it's in 2,000 words, if you feel that this adequately answers your clients' questions, sells the benefits of what you do, qualifies them with a price, and then gets them to take action. And remember, that price is essential, because you don't want loads of people coming over to your website who are not within the right price range. So if you have wedding packages from £2,000 and people see that confidently on your price, on your homepage, you've empathized with them, sold them the benefits, told them how easy it is, you've qualified them to £2,000. Now they can book that consultation call, because you don't want a consultation call with somebody who's only got £100 budget. They can go and work with the cheapy photographers. You're not one. You're a premium photographer.
Yeah, and I think it also, I mean, I love the idea of having, I've always advocated having price on anyway, but I mean, it does save all that embarrassment as well, doesn't it? Like, nobody wants that embarrassing conversation where you have to get on the phone with somebody and then you discover they've only got a budget of £100, and you go, well, actually it costs £2,000 for me to do a proper photography wedding shoot with you, or whatever. You know, you don't have to, it's not pleasant for anybody, right? So actually, so we talk about things like tire kickers and people who can't afford us and stuff, but actually, it's not great for them. They're still trying to get married, they're still trying to have a wedding, right?
And their time is better spent reading websites from people within their price range.
Within their price range,
exactly.
Exactly, and finding photographers who may be local in their area, who maybe aren't specialists on weddings. Maybe they do a bit of weddings on the side, or they're trying to get, it might be somebody who's trying to get into weddings, for example, and they're prepared to do stuff at lower cost to start with, whatever it may be. But I think it's quite important having that price qualifier for everybody. I used to have a joke with my best mate when we went shopping when I was a teenager. We used to be like, okay, if it hasn't got a price tag, it must be free. That's it, must be free. We weren't like, oh, we can't afford it. We were like, it must be free. But that's the thing, is even when we're shopping, we like to see that we can, like to, before we get interested and look at something properly, and we thought, certainly if I look at clothes, for example, when I'm out shopping, I want to have an idea that brand, when I walk into that shop, is a brand that I can afford. I'm not going to walk into a shop that I can't afford, and I'm not going to walk in somewhere, so I'm going to, and that's exactly it. You want to provide that evidence that your brand is the place where that this customer is in the right place, and this is the brand that they can afford to work with, and that's your brand, right?
Definitely. And if you're worried about price, a good thing, you have that from price on your website, and where's a good place to put a testimonial? Underneath your price, so you've got your price, you're scrolling down, you empathize with the client, you sell them the benefits of what you do, you tell them how easy it is to work with you in 4 simple steps. Then you put, wedding, if you're getting married and you have a budget of over £2,000, or £1,199 or more, then get in touch. And then underneath that, you've got a glowing testimonial that doesn't say something like, the photographs were brilliant and he was really professional, because that doesn't sell the benefits and sell the emotional. Say, Gary and Elaine were fantastic on the day. They really put us at ease. The photographs that we got are a perfect, true reflection of how we felt our day was. And looking back at our album, brings a smile to our face every single day. So that testimonial reinforces that value that you've put on yourself. So,
I'd actually go one step further as well. And I would suggest that if you can, and you can't do this for everyone, obviously, but where you're putting your testimonial in, if, for example, it's going in after price, try and pick somebody who's talked about what an amazing value for money it was working for you, right? So somebody's just read your price, your from price, then you're giving them a testimonial that talks about how incredible you are. And they also talk about what great value for money it was working with you.
Brilliant. And you know what? And I've seen that. And I've seen that a lot of times before on, on Amazon. So you've looked at something, funny enough, we talked about my coffee machine the other week that I'd got, and it was a little bit more than I originally wanted to spend, but I read a testimonial that said pretty much the same thing. It was a little bit more than I was originally going to spend for a coffee machine, but it's been the best investment. Piping hot, delicious coffee. It's easy to clean. There's no fuss, there's no mess, there's no waste. And all this testimonial was just like, tick box, tick box, tick box, all the stuff I wanted. And I was like, well, yeah, I'll spend the extra bit because this testimonial's backed everything up. So if you can have a testimonial off a client that says, even if it says, a little bit more than I was originally going to spend. However, that branding shoot I had has provided so much value for my business. I've got a lot more engagement on my social media. I've had 4 inquiries this week alone just from the images that I've utilized. It's really helped grow my LinkedIn profile, seeing huge engagement on the posts that I put out, so it's selling all the benefits of spending that bit extra money. And if we can convince people that we're going to solve the problems, empathize with them, solve their problems, and give them the perfect solution, then people's budgets are flexible. There's so how many times do you go to buy something and then you go, well, I spent a bit extra, but I got this, this, and this, or because it delivered that. So don't be too price fixed. And I think that's what a lot of photographers are. They're fixating on the price. And that's not the main buying factor of a client. The main buying factor of the client is, are you the right fit? Are you speaking the right language? How has other people benefited from using you? Testimonials, guarantees, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and that's where that outcome thing is that we talked about at the beginning of the show. That outcome, that understanding what people do with it afterwards and how it benefits their business means that you can kind of tailor your content to talk about that outcome from the beginning. You're always talking about the benefits. You're talking about the outcome from the very, very beginning. And I was just going to make a point on testimonials again, actually. So I feel like I'm chatting about testimonials constantly, but you can also, that having your dialogue open with your customers after they've finished, right, means that you've kind of left the door open to go and speak to them about how they use their images, right? And then you've also got the opportunity to ask them for a testimonial that talks specifically about how they've used their images, right? Or specifically something that you want to emphasize the benefit of on your website. So if it is, going back to that example of the pricing thing, if you feel like you haven't, a lot of your website, your testimonials are like, oh my God, my wedding was amazing, thanks Emma, they made me feel really comfortable, lots of emotional stuff, but nothing that really talks to price. And there's somebody else that kind of maybe push their budget a little bit higher to work with you, and they know that, and that they got amazing results and they felt absolutely amazing afterwards. They've got wonderful memories, blah, 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 and so on. You can go back by having that open dialogue with them and being able to go back and follow up with them. You might be able to ask them for a testimonial that talks about the fact that they stretch their budget a little bit.
And funny enough, a prime example of that is somebody who's we're currently creating a website for. And this is like gold dust, this testimonial, because he's saying a commercial photographer, and he has a client who actually says, it was quite a big job. I think it was nearing £10,000 commercial photography shoot for a guy called Mel Yates, who's a photographer in London, and he did it for this big company. I think they're a whiskey company, but that big job ultimately resulted in an order or contract for $1.5 million. And he's now got, he's got that as a testimonial with the images. I mean, what an amazing investment. You spent 10 grand on photography, but the return on investment was a $1.5 million because the these people had seen this particular photos, they were in this PDF that drew them to them, and they became the customer. You know, so if you can have something like that, if you have you know, a win-win story, and how it's put value on your business, how it's when you know, your photography has helped them win more customers. Also, think about portraits. You know, with a portrait, it's not if you buy some wall art, you're not spending £1,000 to enjoy that minute. You're spending £1,000 to enjoy for as long as you've got it in the home. It could be handed down to your kids, and then you put it in that perspective. It's pennies, isn't it? You know, you spend £1,000, but you're sitting looking at it every day for the rest of your life in the living room, and it brings a smile to your face and cheers up your day.
Yeah, and I think that's it. I mean, quite often people talk about how the portraits that they had done by professional photographers are priceless, right? You know, especially when they're family portraits or pet portraits, and that's how people actually genuinely feel about them when they've got them at home. And that's, you know, so it's not just like, oh, here's some prints. It's not just like, here's some product. It's here is something that's going to make a massive difference to your life forever. Yeah.
And I think one big thing within your within your copy, and I think it's really important, is selling the end solution or selling the perfect solution on your website. You know, don't sell the first step. So if you're a headshot photographer and all you're selling in your copy is come and have a headshot, you're not selling the idea of building your LinkedIn profile, looking professional, standing out amongst the rest. Or if you're a portrait photographer and you're just selling the portrait experience, but you're not trying to sell enjoying this beautiful wall art and having pictures of wall art of the family or wall art of your pet in the home, on the walls, on your website, then what you do is what you'll have to do is sell twice. You'll have to sell the experience. Then when the person comes for the experience and has the experience, then you're going to have to work again to sell them the wall art. What you want to do is you want to create the desire for the experience as a step to the wall art. So you're selling the wall art on your homepage of your website. It shouldn't be on a separate page. You know, so you're selling the wedding album on your homepage. You're selling the looking great on all your social media profiles and your website with a headshot on your homepage, so that they're going to buy more than just one headshot. They buy a different one for Facebook and they buy another one for their website.
Yeah, absolutely. And that whole that application of things is I think the bit that a lot of people kind of struggle with as well, because it's quite easy to kind of fall back into like, oh well, okay, yeah, we get your testimonials, and I think historically there's this kind of, you fall back on like the parts, the elements of your price, for example, of what's included, and everyone talks about like, these are the things that are included, like, you know, you get 50 high-res files and blah 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 blah. And I mean, literally, because I'm not a photographer, my brain's switching off, and that's how people out there read it, because they just go, oh, okay, right, whatever. Because actually what they read is the little headline. So one of the things that we do with websites when we're putting pricing on, and when you've got these kind of idea of sort of 3 packages, if you have 3 packages or even just any package, but this idea of having like an introductory statement as well that talks about, this is perfect for you if you, right? So statements about things being perfect for you if you blah blah blah, if you are getting married in the summer. I don't know, that's a rubbish example, but perfect for you if you are an entrepreneur and you are about to get to the next level of your business and you want to really go crazy on social media, for example. So that would be like a brand shoot for somebody, but that's your brand shoot at a certain package rate, which is for that entrepreneur. You might have another one which is for a small business who want to get to the next level of small business ownership, right? And they really want to have team photographs, they want to have some headshots done for the team, and they also want to, so you might have a different kind of brand shoot for that. And again, you say this is perfect for you if you're a small business owner who wants to achieve this and this, and this is what you're going to get out of it, right? So you really big up that part, and then they will read obviously all of the what's included in the package, but what they'll connect with is that copy at the top there, right?
And you see a lot of companies do that on their websites, where they'll have 3 boxes and they'll have, you know, package A, package B, package C, and package A might be for the smaller business who wants and the next one, this is for the person who needs, say it's a bit of software for the small business casual use. The next one will be for people with teams and multiple. The other one will be teams and multiple venues and stuff like that. So they talk about the benefits of each one of the packages, and you could do that for weddings. You could have, for the small intimate wedding, for the big venue with a lot of guests where you're wanting to showcase the architecture, the beauty of the place that you're getting married at, and get shots with all your friends and the family and the first dance and that. So you can create individual packages for any type of photography and highlight them to selected people.
Yeah, absolutely.
But with regards to the copy on your website, like we said, it's just got to really identify with that client type. I mean, do we need to write it ourselves, or can we look at, because I know this is something we're going to be talking about next week, can we look at AI to write our content for us?
Yeah, there you go, the elephant in the room. Yeah, absolutely, AI. And this is, we're going to do, for everyone watching, we're doing another webinar next week on AI. So when this ChatGPT and stuff was going bonkers at the beginning of the year, I went and did a course on copywriting, so I can understand how we can use AI to help us write our copy, because it's not just about writing copy. So I've got a little group called the Photographers Copywriting Club, and we did a little demo in there recently. And this is the danger of AI, I think, is that you can go and you can ask an AI bot to say, I want to write a LinkedIn post for a photographer who's doing, I don't know, spring weddings, and we're doing 15% off. And it will write you a LinkedIn post for a photographer who's doing spring weddings with 15% off, but it will sound like a robot. And it's really easy to understand. It's really easy, to pick it out. When you go look at social feeds, or you look at something that's come back from someone, you're like, that was written by a robot, wasn't it? So actually understanding the key with AI, and I think this is where it's going to revolutionize things for people, is that and it actually works for me, because I still suffer from blank page syndrome as a copywriter. Right? I sometimes sit there and I go, I do not know where to start with this piece of content that I've got to write. But actually, if you know what prompts and what seeds to put in to AI, you can create a non-blank page for yourself, right? And then you can look at it and you go, oh, actually, you know what, I could write that better. But it's given you something to work from. There's a lot more to it from that. That's why it's a whole nother webinar after this. But I think it's actually a really, really good tool for us. I think it's a really good way.
Interesting to know if anybody who's watching here, I know Phil's just put AI is good for basics, but if anybody else has been using it, and out of interest, if you are, what software are you using? But I've actually got, is it Katab or Kateb? Katteb. Katab.
Okay.
I've got that. I got the developer's license for it off Julie from our website company, but to be honest, I haven't used it yet. Because it scares me a bit. I'm not exactly sure. I'm worried that it might write and make me sound too intelligent, and then people will go, "Oh, that's definitely not Jeff's work." But it wouldn't be good if we could have something that would make our writing so much easier, because photographers, I think that is one of the biggest things, and with our website company, the Photographer Suite, that is one of the biggest blocking things. Is getting people to actually start creating content for their website. So Celia says she uses what I use AI, but always write in my voice. And Michelle, I use it for ideas to get started, for networking pitches, and also for my LinkedIn posts. Oh.
Yeah, no, it's a really good idea for network, for pitches and things like that. It's great. I mean, I think for that kind, it's absolutely perfect. And it is very much, I think, as Sadia said, it's very much, it's a pinch of salt. If you, and I don't think anyone really, I think everyone's already probably seen enough of the warnings on LinkedIn and stuff, that if you copy and paste it, then you're not going to look great, right? I mean, despite all the fact that there's all kinds of other research about, you know, robots checking out other robots and being able to demonstrate, being able to see that you're just using copy that was written by a robot, right? They can check each other out, basically. So there's all that kind of stuff, but even beyond that, it just doesn't look very good for your brand, because people can tell. So actually just picking it up and doing it, but actually what people are saying here is exactly right, is to get it for ideas and as a starting point, and then rewrite it in your own voice, or rewrite it in a way that you know that your clients are going to understand it. Rewrite it in a way that actually demonstrates that you have empathy for the problems that they have, or has an empathy for where they're at right now. So it can help you to get past the blank page and to get those ideas onto paper, and then, you know, you do the human element.
Yeah. And I think that's, you know, that's so important when it comes to thinking about copy as in quality, you know, quality as opposed to good, because there's so much demand on people. Think, oh, I've got to write a blog, I've got to do 6 posts a week.
Yeah.
But it's much better to have quality that connects. You know, last week, I think it was last week, I only did 1 post because I just had so much interaction on it. I couldn't have kept up with that and another 3 or 4 posts. So I just thought, oh, just do the one, you know.
Yeah.
And if that copy resonates with your followers or your ideal client type, then you don't have to put something out the next day for them, you know. So don't make it too hard.
It's done its job, right?
It's done its job, yeah. But if you just put out 5 or 6 posts just because you've used an AI bot to create it, because you feel you need to tick those boxes and create that copy, and it's not connecting, because it's ultimately your images will grab attention, but it's the copy that you use, it's the words that create the desire, create that human touch and that connection, and sell the benefits of what you do. So you need to really spend, I mean, if you can't do it yourself, get in contact with Claire. Claire is the queen of copywriting, and Claire writes my blogs. Claire does the proofreading for my books. You know, I actually record videos, and then Claire watches my videos and then puts it into words for me, but in Jeff speak. So I always say, Claire, don't make me sound any different than I am, and she has a good way of writing it as I would, without using really long words, you know. But it's that's the thing, is the, you know, be authentic, be yourself, but create that desire, excite people, empathize with people, and sell the benefits of what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I mean, and I think that's if anyone would like to get in touch with me afterwards, I'm not sure how much longer we've got on the show, but I keep calling it a show. It's like being telly, isn't it? It's a show, everyone. Yeah, I don't know, but I'm putting together a guide for you about writing helpful content and finding out where to go, not just where to go to find out the answers that your customers are asking, but also how to use it. And then after next week's show, I'll be bringing in the AI element as well. So I'll be telling you how to take that information that you've gone off and researched, that you've found out those questions that your customers are asking, where to go and find out the answer to those questions, and then I'm going to tell you how to, what they call seed the AI robots. So what kind of prompts you need to give the AI bots in order to fill up that blank page, right?
So, and you've got can you see this little screen that I'm sharing here?
Yes.
So there we are. I can just see the little benefits of signing up before. And you don't have to, you know, this is something that Claire's going to give you for free. You don't have to put in, you don't have to take out a mortgage or put in your credit card details. Claire is being very generous with, and Claire generously gives a lot of her time and content within my own private group, you know, and she does really know what she's talking about. It's so important part of your website. So if you want to just make a note, Claire, you can always stick this in the comments as well. But there's the URL at the top there, and we'll stick it in the comments. Or if you would like to subscribe, just please drop in the comments. Please send me the link, and then Claire can send you the link personally. So if you like Claire's PDF brochure, just type in the comments, please send me the link. And when Claire's created this amazing brochure on website copy and chatbots, Chat GPT. Did we actually find out what GPT stands for?
I googled it, didn't I? I googled it. It was generative pre-trained transformer. That's what it is.
generative pre-trained
transformer, which is a really
so if you haven't learned much from today, you've learned out what ChatGPT stands for.
Yeah, it's really rubbish, isn't it? I'm really disappointed with that.
Yeah, well, you can tell it's been written by a robot, the title, isn't it? You know,
yeah,
it's been something like more human.
He's basically an AI tool has basically named himself, hasn't he? That's basically that's what happens when you get AI to come up with names. Yeah. So yeah, what I'll do is that I can't actually put the link in while we're talking, so I'll put it after we've finished. I'll pop the link into the
you know, you can just go back and reply to each one of these little comments, can you, with your link?
Just pop the link in. Yeah, absolutely.
And if you're not connected with Claire, drop Claire a little connection.
Yeah, drop me a connection request
on LinkedIn. She doesn't bite. She's very friendly.
I am very friendly. Yeah. So and then do come along next week as well and ask all your AI questions. And no question is ever a stupid question, by the way. I love questions.
Not even if it's what does ChatGPT stand for?
Not even that. I went straight off to Google that. Had to. That would have been an itch for me not to know, but not that I'm actually going to remember that after today, because it's not very catchy.
I've forgotten already.
Yeah,
it was generative
pre-trained transformer. So rubbish. Yeah. So rubbish.
But if you want to know more about, you know, writing for a website or having what I call a scroll to a sale website, so here's my little pitch. Head over to my website company, which is called The Photographer's Suite. Not sweet as in a sweet that you'll eat, Phil, but sweet as in SUITE, The Photographer's Suite. And you can find information about our scroll to a sale websites that we create and design. Or also just head over to LinkedIn and type in "help, my photography website needs more customers," and you'll see a copy of my latest book. Now, as with everything with my books, I give my book, I give away as much as I possibly can, because that's what I'm all about, is trying to help photographers really up their game online. Make a lot more money and become the go-to photographer. And then I'm joined by amazingly talented people like Claire, who's good at stuff that I'm not very good at, and Claire is really good at creating that word. What is Claire's full name? It's Claire Bignell.
Yeah, Bignell.
Claire Bignell.
Yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm really sorry I can't. For some reason, StreamYard doesn't let you just go and type in your comments bit, does it?
Yeah, it's there just underneath there, Lisa. So it's Claire Bignell.
Yeah, Claire Bignell. I'm just on the thing. But I'll come and comment on the chat after we've finished as well, and you should be able to see my name come up, and then you can just connect with me on LinkedIn.
Fantastic. Well, thanks again, guys, and thank you, Claire, for giving me over an hour of your time today on a Friday.
And lovely to see so many people here as well. Thank you for coming along, guys.
And feel free to message either of us. If you get worried about putting a question up in the comments because you might feel a bit daft, feel free. If we're connected, and you message me or you message Claire, if we're connected, we can do these little voice clips. Me and Claire love doing voice clips because it's so easy.
All over a voice clip.
You can answer that question straight away in a voice clip, and it saves you having to type. So cool. Don't be afraid to message me and say, Jeff, what is my empathy because I'm this type of photographer, or what benefit should I be selling for my branding photography? I always reply to any messages I get in. So
yeah, absolutely. Me too.
So good. Thanks again, guys, and remember next Friday at 12:30 we're going to be talking about AI, ChatGPT, or that new Google Bard. I actually had an email off Google last week to say come and join me for Google Bard, whatever that is.
Yeah, I think that's it. So we'll call it a kind of it's not ChatGPT. It's non-brand specific. It's just AI for writing for your photography business, really. It's not a generative pre-trained transformer talk. So rubbish. I can't get over how rubbish that is. Right, good.
Well, thanks again, guys.
Thank you so much for having me, Jeff. And thanks everyone for being here. It's been awesome.
No problem. And thank you very much, Claire.
Cheers. Take care, guys. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Cheers, guys.